Tannas.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to start by thanking all senators for your interventions. It's in moments like these, situations like these that occur rarely in our chamber, but with some regularity, I guess, over my 9 years. I'm reminded of the incredible talent and wisdom that we have in this chamber. I say often to people that Canadians should read the biographies and tune in once in a while to the Senate. Truly, this has been a tremendous debate. I have to say I'm envious of the certainty with which people have put forward their positions, with disciplined arguments advanced by both sides. In fact, there was an excellent juxtaposition of that with Senator Arnott and Senator Marshall, who had opposite plans and both made what I found to be powerful presentations for their position. I find myself out of my element. Doesn't happen very often to me. I find myself almost detached and in a surreal situation, like an observer. I've always been able to draw on my personal and professional experience, but it's always been anchored and confirmed by the values of my family and my community. This isn't available to me today. My community, my country, is divided, severely divided. We can't have a discussion about anything anymore because we can't even agree on the facts. This is a very, very distressing time in Canada. I'm not seeing leadership. I'm not seeing leadership to bring us together. I'm not seeing leadership from any quarter, whether it is the Prime Minister's office or the Leader of the Opposition's office, or premiers. It's no wonder that we continue down this path. I'd like to thank the truckers of Canada. According to the Canadian Trucking Association, there are 320,000 Canadians working in the trucking industry. It's about 2% of the entire workforce in Canada. Day in and day out, they deliver food and goods of all sorts to and from Canada, to and from neighborhoods, to and from homes. During COVID, we actually relied more on their work. We asked them to do more than they usually do. We all bought stuff and had it delivered to our homes that we would normally have gone somewhere and purchased. For much of the time, they did it with no vaccines. Nobody had a vaccine available to them. They did it anyway. Their work is difficult, and in many cases, it's solitary. They're by themselves. It's often dangerous. Road conditions, traffic conditions. I want to say to the truckers of Canada, you are appreciated, you're valued, and you're respected. Your collective reputation has been appropriated by many people and many organizations for their own purposes in this unsettled time. But reasonable people recognize that. I want to thank peace officers who showed remarkable skill and restraint and determination over the past few weeks as they restored necessarily the public order in Coots, at the Ambassador Bridge, other places, but especially here in Ottawa. 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity on a couple of occasions to walk through the Ottawa Convoy protest site on Wellington Street. Anyone who visited that site could not help but notice that this particular protest was populated by people from across the country, coast to coast to coast, as people like to say. They were represented by many cultures and creeds and political perspectives, some of them wacky, but the vast majority of them represented by millions of Canadians. You know, I have to say that I followed some of the media coverage as the convoy started out west and rolled towards Ottawa. I didn't follow it closely. The media presented it as a ragtag group of Westerners that were coming to Ottawa. We've heard it in discussions similar to the Yellow Vest and the energy support group that came from the West, and they were on their way to Ottawa. And so I was very surprised when I arrived up on the hill to find that the vast majority of trucks that were parked there were from Quebec and Ontario. I couldn't find an Alberta truck, actually, on Wellington Street. I have not heard one word from anyone in the media about the fact that that protest was national in nature. I have never heard anybody say, how did these crazy Albertans that have been arrested manage to communicate with all these people in Quebec, if this is a conspiracy, to come to Ottawa on this day? It strains credibility to believe that those folks, because I don't believe any of them speak French or have a network in Quebec, were able to convince that many truckers from that province, and I'm using it as an example, to come to Ottawa. The fact is, it was a groundswell of support from across this country. It's that simple. Millions of Canadians identified with the protest. Millions of Canadians still feel the way that they did when they identified with that protest. Thousands upon thousands of Canadians gave $10 and $5 and $20 to that crowdfunding site because it made them feel good that they had a hand in supporting what was going to be a protest in Ottawa against continued government intrusion in their lives after the last 2 years. I don't believe that it is any more complicated than that, but we'll see. You know, the sad irony of what happened on February the 15th when the Emergencies Act was invoked is that people who were here to protest intrusion by the government in their lives, the answer to the problem was more intrusion in their lives through the Emergencies Act. It's brought the temperature up. But I agree with Senator St. Germain, I agree with Senator Marshall and others. It should never, ever have come to what it did come to. A 3-week illegal occupation should never have been allowed to occur. There's lots of blame to go around. And the inquiry that will follow, I hope, is unflinching in assigning that blame where it belongs, finding out the facts and assigning responsibility. And I hope that the people and the organizations that are found to have been wanting take responsibility for it. Nonetheless, colleagues, I believe that the government made a decision to invoke the Act based on facts in their possession in a very volatile situation. And in that moment, they did their job. They made a decision, and I believe they made it responsibly. That decision was made 9 days ago. Since then, the Coutts protest, the Ambassador Bridge protest, and the Ottawa blockades and occupations have been stopped. The streets have been cleared. Traffic is going on Wellington Street and on the other streets as it was before. There's been a cleanup, and there's been preventative measures that need to be instituted, and I have every faith that the police and the relevant authorities will make those measures preventative measures. Senator Gold made a defense of why we need to continue the Emergencies Act today, why it needs to continue. But I don't believe that we are anywhere near any kind of definition of a national security emergency here today on February the 23rd. Canadians are divided about the use of the Emergencies Act. There's no question about that. A few days ago, in fact, after the invocation, there was a poll conducted by Main Street Research which highlight this fact. 39% of Canadians strongly oppose the Emergencies Act and its use now. It's repugnant to many of those people. 38% strongly agree with the invocation of the Emergencies Act. And the rest of the folks either somewhat oppose or somewhat support or don't have an opinion. So 39 to 38 means we're divided. The majority is divided. So I think we need, at this moment in time, to consider this motion not for its utility in approving a decision that happened 9 days ago. I think we need to consider whether or not this divisive action is still needed today. So, with all of that, on these insufficient words, and I will leave it there, I will vote no to the continuation of the Emergencies Act on the basis that I believe it is no longer needed and it is doing nothing but dividing Canadians and will do so in increasing numbers every day, every hour that it is in force. Thank you.
Question? Senator Coyle?